Welcome to NewsNation's Backscroll, where we look back at our major news coverage on the most important topics and personalities of our time.
The face of the war in Ukraine has largely been the leader of that nation, President Volodymyr Zelensky. But behind the man many people have come to know and support is a man largely responsible for the Ukraine's success in fighting against Russia's attack. NewsNation correspondent Kelly Meyer, she is at the Pentagon with the story. And Kelly, Ukraine's armed forces chief is somewhat of a star himself.
Yeah, that's right, Kelsey. There's so much attention surrounding Ukraine's president, but it's this man, Valery Zaluzhny, that is leading his army, taking on the Russians and pushing them back in parts of the country. Remember when this war started now 6 weeks ago? Many thought this would be over in a matter of days, the capital of Kyiv taken over, but with his leadership and the fierce resistance of the Ukrainian people, this war hasn't been a Russian romp. Instead, the Ukrainians have kept hold of Kyiv and even forced Russians to retreat from the capital and several other cities. This 48-year-old general can be credited with that and much more. He comes from a military family and appointed as his country's top commander by President Volodymyr Zelensky just this past July, and he has been preparing for the threat of an attack from Russia since 2014. He avoids celebrity and sticks to the mission, having cut his teeth fighting Russian-backed forces in eastern Ukraine, known as the Donbass, for the past 8 years. I asked the Pentagon spokesperson about the surprising skill and leadership of the Ukrainian military.
It is remarkable how well they are leading their forces in the field and how good their command and control still is today. Well organized, well equipped, certainly well trained over the last 8 years, and you're seeing all that come to bear. So I haven't seen a profile.
Now, as Russia's focus shifts to the southeast, his experience in that region will come into play. The Pentagon spokesperson saying from this podium here today, the U.S. wants to see Putin and his army lose this invasion in Ukraine. Zaluzhny and his army certainly not giving up anytime soon. Kelsey?
Kelly, always great reporting. He sounds like a very humble man.
David Marquette is a retired U.S. Navy submarine captain and best-selling author of Turn the Ship Around. So, David, your reaction to this new report that the Navy heard the implosion days ago?
I guess it's possible. I don't know anything about it.
So what are your main questions following that afternoon press conference with the U.S. Coast Guard?
Yeah, well, I think it confirms our most likely scenario, which is as the submarine was descending toward the Titanic in the first hour and 45 minutes of its journey, some minute flaw, could have been a minute flaw, resulted in the tremendous pressure, causing an immediate and instantaneous collapse of the pressure vessel and the immediate death of all the people on board. And I think this was always the most likely scenario. So the search was in vain, and unfortunately, we were not able to recover them alive.
What impact, if any, do you think this will have on the future of missions like these?
Yeah, well, there'll certainly be a dampening impact on the future of tourism to the bottom of the ocean. But in the long run, I hope that we learn things, and I hope it becomes beneficial. I'm of two minds. One, I admire the innovation and the moving fast and the experimentation and the sense of exploration and really pushing things on the edge. As a race, we've benefited from the explorers who've risked and sometimes lost their lives. But at the same time, I got the sense, looking at the way the company talked about what they did and their operational rhythm, that they were applying Silicon Valley innovative rules of fail fast, which are maybe applicable if you're writing software to rent scooters, but Mother Nature is not like that. And if you don't follow all the rules, she's going to get you. And we've learned from over 100 years of operating submarines at sea, including losing some, and we go to sea for 60, 90 days at a time, that there's certain ways of operating submarines that come about safely and certain ways that you don't. Number one is a humility and a constant chronic unease with the sense that the ocean is pressing on the ship, and if you let down your guard, it's going to get you.
Do you think there was any chance the crew may have been able to survive? It sounds like from your previous statements that answer would be no.
Based on what happened, the crew had 0.0% control over the situation. They had 0.0% ability to impact the outcome of the situation. I think the most likely, it doesn't appear that, for example, that they drove accidentally into the Titanic. I think the most likely scenario is there was something wrong with the vessel when they left the mothership. There was a minute flaw, there was a minute crack, there was a fitting that just wasn't connected just quite right, or there was a bolt that was made of the wrong material, or something minute that wasn't detected, and that flaw was there at the start, and it was just a matter of time. And when they reached the right depth, it gave way, and it was over for them.
What was your takeaway from this entire incident and the world watching this week?
Yeah, there was a couple of interesting things from my perspective. Number one is my sense is that the company was trying to have their cake and eat it too. They were saying, look, we're not going to play by all the normal rules. We're more innovative, faster, maybe even smarter than the rest of you. But when they got in trouble, they wanted everyone to come to their assistance. And I think there's an implicit contract there, which is, hey, you play by the rules, we're going to come help, we're going to roll out the cavalry for you. You choose not to, that's your decision, but don't expect us to show up when you get in trouble. And so I think that's something we need to think about. And the other thing was, I was really surprised by the attention and that this got, and the response was heroic. 4 countries, multiple agencies, commercial, and it was really heartwarming and inspiring. And I think about some of the other accidents that happened, and I say, well, why didn't 53 Indonesian submarines 2 years ago, or 8 people were lost on Mount Everest last month climbing it, or a couple hundred migrants were lost in a ship. And it makes me wonder, like, why do certain things gather so much attention and our resources and our energy and our money, and other things seem to pass by? And I don't have an answer to that.
All right. Well, David Marquette, thank you for your insight tonight. We appreciate you joining us.
And to politics this morning, President-elect Trump is hoping for a speedy confirmation process for his cabinet picks. But one top nominee is dealing with blowback now from new accusations. Military veteran and Fox News host Pete Hegseth is pushing back on allegations of sexual assault stemming from an investigation in California back in 2017. NewsNation's Brooke Schaefer joining us now live this morning with the latest. Brooke, before we get to that, though, wanted to share something that just came down from overnight. The president-elect shed some light on his plan for mass deportations. What's he saying on Truth Social?
Markey, overnight, the president-elect announcing on Truth Social that he is prepared to tackle immigration by declaring a national emergency. The president-elect confirmed reports that his administration will use military assets to enforce mass deportation, saying the plans will, quote, reverse the Biden invasion of immigrants coming into the U.S. Our partners over at The Hill report over 1.5 million people currently live and work in the country and have a humanitarian or temporary legal status. They are at risk of being pushed out by the Trump administration. Mass deportations, this is something that Trump has long promised on the campaign trail. He recently brought on former ICE Director Tom Homan as his border czar. Homan, a staunch critic of Biden border policies and a supporter of Trump's plans for mass deportations, has already told illegal immigrants to start packing. Homan will be in charge of carrying out Trump's plans at the border, including these plans for mass deportations, which now Trump overnight confirms will include the military. Markey?
And Brooke, going back to the beginning there, what more do we know about accusations against Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth?
Yeah, Trump's pick for Defense Secretary, veteran and Fox News host Pete Hegseth this morning denying accusations of sexual assault. Hegseth insisting the encounter in 2017 was consensual. His attorney over the weekend revealing that Hegseth paid the woman accusing him of assault an undisclosed amount of money to prevent a lawsuit, which Hegseth reportedly feared would get him fired from Fox News. His attorney calling the woman the aggressor in the incident, which allegedly happened after a speaking appearance in California 7 years ago. No charges were ever filed. Our partners at The Hill reporting that these allegations came as a surprise to Trump's transition team. Even still, Trump is sticking by his pick. A Trump transition spokesperson said in part, Mr. Hegseth has vigorously denied any and all accusations. We look forward to his confirmation as U.S. Secretary of Defense. In response to the pushback to some of Trump's picks so far, Donald Trump Jr. has said this is what the American people want, actual disruptors. Marky?
Brooke Schaefer, thank you so much.
We have that tonight. Republican Pete Sessions and Democrat Henry Cuellar. It's good to have you both, and I respect very much that you came on together. Thank you for caring about the work of the people more than the parties.
Thank you so much to both of you, and it's always good to see my good friend Pete.
Yeah, it's
Henry,
good to see you both. Hey,
Henry, thank you very much. It's good to be on with you, too. I'm proud to do this, Henry.
Thank you.
Hey, Pete, let me ask you something. What do you think the president's response, what do you think Congress's disposition should be toward Mexico saying you can't land?
Well, Mexico is going to have to find a way to want to welcome its own citizens back because they're going to come. But it's going to also require a little bit of help from members like Henry Cuellar and myself to talk common sense to our friends. We have friends in Mexico. We do a lot of business with Mexico, and it's important to Mexico, and it's important to Texas also. And so as my good friend Al Zaponte, who's president of U.S.-Mexico Chamber, would say, it's in both of our best interests to find a way to make it happen. Just the same thing that you said tonight.
Hey, Henry, what do you say to Democrats who say, look what happened in New Jersey? They caught some people. They rounded up that was supposed to be illegal entrants. They're not illegal entrants. They're citizens. They're veterans. You got to stop this effort. It's going to be a disaster. What do you say to them?
Well, I think you said it well at the beginning. You got to look at the big picture. What we're trying to do is to make sure that we protect the sovereignty of our nation, and that means border security. We just got to be careful when you go in and make sure that we don't profile and pick any Americans, but certainly, we need to make sure that we enforce and anybody that's not supposed to be here, start off with criminals, risk to national security, the 1.3 million final deportation orders that we have of individuals that should have left. Those folks, we should be focusing on them, especially the gangs and the criminals that we have here in the United States.
Pete, you're not going to deport your way out of this problem. You got to work on the flow at the southern border. I don't think the president, by executive order, can get the rule changes and the resources that, as you guys know better than I, the people doing the job on the southern border have been asking for decades. What do you believe is the ambition of Congress to work on those solutions?
It's very clear to me, Chris, that both Henry and I have been on the border. And much of the border wall, I'm sure a huge percent is completed. It is the gaps, it is the holes that are there. Once we complete putting those, the wall complete, then federal law enforcement will change their direction from being someone who simply does all the paperwork to enforcing the law and making sure that we can protect the border. Now, what is the temperature of Congress? The temperature of Congress is we've got to make sure that we also deport those people who come from foreign countries who are adversary to the United States. And perhaps President Trump selected the ones where they are because they needed to go, because it was easy to do that. But we've got a lot of hard work that's got to be done with a lot of other adversaries who had people in this country. There were some 400 people on the terrorist watch list who are already in this country. They allowed them, the Biden administration allowed to come in. And Henry and I have both spoken up about that. Henry's a Democrat, used his common sense, not his wisdom against his party, his common sense to say, that was a bad policy. We now need to go find them.
We are about to board the USNS Comfort. It's about to start a humanitarian mission.
We've got about 1,000 people that are motivated. They're excited to be a part of this mission.
She is the largest floating trauma facility in the world.
We're the best one.
This is basically the same as an emergency room.
Yes, sir.
You have everything that a hospital would have.
Yes, sir.
If we were to ever go to war, is this ship also for that?
Absolutely. Major combat operation is our primary mission.
Do you have to have weapons?
They're 24/7 manning while we are underway. And this is where we store all of our blood for the mission. There was one baby that was born on board. She's 7 years old now. Shows the impact that the Comfort does. Different countries are very gracious that we are there.
All right, we're here in Miami. It's a stormy day in Miami, but we are about to board the USNS Comfort. This is a massive humanitarian ship, basically a big floating hospital run by the Navy. It's about to start a humanitarian mission, head south to Central America and South America. As soon as the rain slows down, we're getting on. Thank you guys for having us. Yeah, awesome.
My name is HM2 Javel Glover. So first and foremost, I want to welcome all of you aboard probably the greatest hospital ship that the U.S. has to offer. So we have the Mercy and the Comfort. We're the best one, just in case you guys didn't know, on the East Coast.
So most of us would argue that our own personal area is the heart and soul of the ship, but I truly believe it's the operating room. So like I said, I'm a perioperative nurse by trade, so this is actually where I work. On board here, we have 12 operating rooms, including one interventional radiology suite. As you see staged here today, it is set up for what is called a laparoscopic case, where we use camera and carbon dioxide. We fill up the belly and we perform surgery minimally invasive. So that's smaller incisions for the patient and thus a shorter, faster recovery. So on board we have a multitude of capabilities for surgery, anything from general to plastics, gynecology, urology. What's unique for the Continuing Promise mission is we had what's called pre-deployment site survey teams that went out, the PDSS teams. They assessed the local ministries of health to determine what the largest needs were, and that is how we determined what procedures that we will be offering for this mission. We are anticipating a lot of ophthalmology cases, so doing cataract surgery and things of that nature, general surgery, hernia repairs, gallbladder removals. For plastics, we may be doing some cleft lips, as well as scar revisions if there are contractures, and pediatric general surgery, so a lot of hernias and things of that nature. So fully functioning operating room, and if you haven't noticed, I will say that the setup of our flow from CASRAC to the OR is optimal. And what I mean by that is, in particular, if we have a trauma or emergency scenario, the ER is situated right next to radiology, to the blood bank, and then right into the operating room. I have never in a stateside hospital been so close to a blood bank, so that gives me a lot of security in the event that we need to give blood products to a patient. So as Captain mentioned, we're going to be running on a day-to-day during this mission 2 operating rooms, and we're hoping to do somewhere between 16 and 20 procedures per day.
How many operating rooms like this one are there?
There are 12 total.
Okay.
Yes, on board.
Is this the same as a hospital operating room?
It is. I mean, there are some nuances. I will tell you that we have D-rings on the ground, and that is it's unique to being on a ship because we have to secure all of our equipment for sea, so stuff doesn't roll around and get damaged. So when we are actually in each of the port stops performing surgery, we will remove those straps. But once we get back underway, we need to strap everything back into place. So the D-rings, makes it a little bit of a challenge. You got to remember they're there, but for safety's sake, we paint them yellow just so there's a visual. In addition, our OR lights, there's this contraption up here where we can lock the lights in place, because otherwise in a standard OR that isn't moving around, you can just pull the lights here and there. We need to be able to secure them up so they don't go swinging when we're underway.
Is there ever a situation where you would have to do a surgery while moving?
There can be, certainly. So in addition to our planned patients on shore, we also are full up 24/7 to serve the crew. So in the event that we have a Navy personnel on board that has like an acute appendicitis, we can take them to the OR and remove their appendix, just as an example. Or if there's a trauma, someone falls down a ladder well and ends up with a large cut that needs to be sutured, we can do that as well.
So I'm assuming that the mission, not the mission in general, but like maybe the procedures that you're expecting, you said they change, like based on
They can change from mission to mission. So it kind of goes off of, our folks, they travel down, they work with the ministries of health to figure out like what the needs are. So if there's a backlog in a particular surgery, whether it be either they don't have the provider available, they don't have the equipment available, then we're able to hone in on those particular procedures. So we're expecting a lot of gallbladders, a lot of hernias, a lot of cataracts. And while those procedures may seem like everyday run-of-the-mill simple surgeries to us in the United States, they can be life-changing for these folks if they've been living with a very uncomfortable hernia for years. Or typical in the United States, you have one gallbladder attack, you go to the ER and you get your gallbladder taken out. Some of these folks have been living with chronic gallbladder disease for 5+ years. We have a fully functioning sterile processing department upstairs. So they do everything from decontaminate and clean the instruments, which renders us able to hold them with our bare hands. And then they go through a very meticulous process to test and visualize each of those instruments before repackaging them and sending them through the sterilizers, and then they're ready for the next procedure. Next on our tour here, this is what we refer to as the Blue Mile. Typically during the day, it is a hustling and bustling corridor. But here, as you can see, we have our cases here where we display a multitude of things, whether they be trophies, flags, plaques that have been presented from different places that we have been over the years. Different countries are very gracious that we are there, and they like to give us things as a thank you, and then we proudly display them. One thing that I want to point out here is this photo. So I did give you a little bit of a history before of the ship. So like I said, she was previously an oil tanker, and then she spent from 1984 to 1987 in the shipyard being completely overhauled and converted into the hospital ship that she is today. So essentially, they opened her up like a tuna can and dropped in the hospital module.
Wow.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Next thing that I want to point out down here, it's actually going to be on this wall. Okay. So this photo here this is the only known aerial photo of the USNS Mercy and the USNS Comfort floating next to each other. This was during Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm back in 1990. Now, there has been a change in the exterior of these ships since then, and it's not just the flight deck or addition of a helo hangar. One big difference here is the fact that today the Comfort has a red cross centered on the front, whereas the Mercy has one that is offset to the side. Now, there was a reason that they did it that way. The pilots during this campaign, it was like, okay, I'm gonna fly back to the Comfort, and they're like, which one is the Comfort? They could from up top they couldn't see, so that's what they chose to do. So today we got ours centered, and the Mercy is off to the side, so it provides a visual difference.
Very cool.
So other things that we do have on board, because of course, especially once we're underway, the crew is living here. So there is a barber shop on board. There are 2 gyms on board. There's a chapel that provides religious services on board. There's ship's laundry on board. We have a ship store that sells like a multitude of things like laundry soaps and extra shower shoes if people need them.
Do you have to have weapons? Like if you're out, in an area that could be unsafe, like is there like a security component?
Yes, so we do have a Marine detachment that is on board and is for defense only.
Okay.
Yes, so they're 24/7 manning while we are underway. So over here, this is our historical wall that shows all of the different hospital ships throughout history. As you can see here, the Red Rover, 1862 to 1865. Now that looks like a really cool adventure, if I do say so myself. But of note, the USNS Mercy and the USNS Comfort, as they are today, it is not the first time that there has been a hospital ship with those names. So if we come down here, example, AH-6 from 1944 to 1996 was also named the Comfort. Cool. And then of note here, Prayer from the Navy Wounded. This was written by a Navy commander. They actually incorporated the names of all of the previous hospital ships in this poem. So, the Comfort, she's a little old. She's coming up, she's about 50 years old at this time. So there actually is talks and plans in the works for replacement ships. So they did just build a new class of hospital vessels, the TAH-X class. So that's gonna be the Balboa, the Portsmouth, and the Bethesda. Those are meant to be a smaller, more like a water ambulance to get to places much faster than we can as a very large, slow-moving vessel. But then in addition, the Comfort and the Mercy have been extended now through 2036, and they're planning on having a little bit smaller vessels, but having more of them to meet the needs across the globe. Because as of right now, like, we're on the East Coast and the Mercy is on the West Coast, and just being that it's a small, older vessel, we don't move all that fast. So in order to improve our capabilities and maneuverability throughout the waters, that is in the works. So say if we have folks on board that, have some sprained ankle or something like that, and they require physical therapy just to get back in the fight, as opposed to having to medevac them off, then we're able to provide that, as well as to patients during humanitarian efforts.
Hello everyone, I'm HM3 Burrow. This is the ICU. Just a little bit about myself. I've been in for 5 years. I'm originally from South Louisiana. I'm pretty proud of that, not gonna lie. And then recently, I went to Pensacola as my first command, and then moved up to Virginia to the USNS Comfort. So, just a little bit about the ICU. We have 4 ICUs, one of which is included in our isolation room. We can hold up to 100 patients up here, and then we also own 16 wards, which we can hold about 800 more patients down there. One really cool thing about the ICU is that you see these huge O2 tanks up here. We can hook them up to one of these towers, and it'll fill all 4 ICUs simultaneously. And that can last, depending on how many patients are on oxygen, it can last for quite a while. We can do pretty much anything a hospital can do. We have our portable pro packs, which we can take off, put with the patient, and transfer them around the ship as needed. We can bring them down to the wards, back to the OR. We have suction, we have oxygen. We have some baby cribs over there, so we can treat little infants. You may notice that it looks a little bit different than the normal ICU at a hospital. There's no patient privacy. We can do that to try to maintain space, get as many people in here as we can, but we do have some patient curtains if the family wants alone time with their loved ones. It looks kind of, there's like, oh, this is a lot of space, but when we have ventilators or like all of our nursing staff, family, translators, it gets pretty busy, pretty loud in here. Then you also may notice that we don't have call bells, so we have to really keep an eye on our patients. Currently, we're keeping our Braslo bags, which are the crash cart for babies, in it, just because we don't have any patients. But you just pull up, squeeze, pull down, put your little infant in there, and then you just lock them back up. Just in case, like the ship rocks or anything like that, toddlers stand up, they won't fall out.
Have you guys had any babies here?
Oh yeah, we've had a ton. There was one baby that was born on board, I think she's 7 years old now. And she recently did a tour where they found, like in the PACU, they found her exact place where she was born, and they found like the exact crib. It was so cute. The whole family was crying, and it was just something amazing to be a part of. It really shows the impact that the Comfort does. It's pretty cool.
So babies that have been born.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the privacy of it.
Yeah, so right behind you we have these portable patient curtains. They're secured for C right now, but they kind of just open up like that, and then we can put them in between each bed as needed if there's like 2 family members or they need as much space. We have life jackets over there in the corner. We have a couple of those in each ICU, just in case something bad happens. Our patients are covered, we're covered. We have emergency breathing devices also in case we need an exit. We have the emergency breathing devices back here. It's like little mini O2s.
All right, so right now we do this thing called securing for C, which is why you see these ratchet straps here. So we want to make sure that none of our equipment like goes flying all over the place when we're traveling around. So that's why we have the ratchet straps up. But this is the portable equipment. It would take a second for me to pull everything out. But if you want to see close-ups of everything, we have the defibrillators. We've got a rapid infuser over here. We've got an aspirator over here and a ventilator here. Then over here, we have several infusion pumps, which are capable of, that'll, like if you have an IV inside of somebody, those are capable of, it's like a computerized method of delivering fluids to somebody. So you can set your fluid rate and all that stuff using an infuser. It just takes the human aspect out of giving fluids. Okay, this one will be fine. All right, so these monitors here, you can turn them on with this button up here. I know you can't really see the button, but turn it on and then you're gonna get a full display. And you know, since I don't have a patient, you won't be able to see all the different things. But here are all the different things that will be monitored for each patient. Like this is the very basics of what will be monitored for a patient. So you'll have their heart rate, their blood pressure, their non-invasive blood pressure, which just means putting a blood pressure cuff on somebody. And then we have their respirations, which can be tracked when you set up your EKG leads, and SpO2, which is somebody's oxygen, their oxygen saturation. So this will keep track of someone's oxygen saturation, this device here. And then we have this blood pressure cuff. And then inside the blood pressure cuff, we keep the EKG leads. So it's a 4-lead EKG.
So this is basically the same as an emergency room, would you say?
Yes, sir.
You have everything that a hospital would have.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, and then another cool thing that we have is these shower heads, for lack of a better term. So what those are for is like if there's a patient that has like an excess amount of blood on them, or if a patient had some kind of contaminant on them, then we could flush it off of them. And then we have drains inside of every single bay. There's drains so that all that fluid can run down there. And additionally, that's what these little barriers are for, so that if there's ever any flooding within these bays, then it won't leak out onto the deck, and then it'll just go down the drain. There's a drain on both sides. All right, so this is aft CASREC. It's a little noisier in here, so I'll speak a little louder. An aft CASREC, it can be set up for a multitude of things. So like, if we do, I know I didn't really talk about it, but if we do a mass casualty, aft CASREC has a pretty big significance. During a mass casualty, this is where all the patients will funnel in through this area, and there'll be a triage officer. We have all these signs up to make it simple. There'll be a triage officer that assesses the patient, and then they'll check in here. That's a whole big whatever the needs of the mission are, that's what aft CASREC can be set up for. I mean, the same thing applies to forward CASREC too, but aft CASREC more so. Just so whatever the mission needs, we can set aft CASREC up for. There's a bunch of training stuff in here right now, because obviously since we're getting ready for a mission, there's a big emphasis on training all of our medical personnel and even our non-medical personnel. So that's why you guys see all these mannequins and stuff behind me. Yes, ma'am. All these mannequins that you see are used for training. These are high fidelity mannequins, so they actually have like an iPad that hooks up to them, and then you can like control their breathing. You can make them blink. You can perform interventions on them. You can do like chest tubes. You can do cricothyroidotomies. You can do IVs to them. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff. Yes.
Please come in. Everyone, please come in. We have plenty of rooms. Hi, afternoon, everyone. My name is HM2 Makatuno. I'm stationed at USNS Mercy. I'm TAD over here with the USNS Comfort in support of the CP25 mission. I'm one of the 7 radiology technologists on board the USNS Comfort. So this is our CT scanner on board the Comfort itself. This is one of the 2 naval vessels that is capable of doing CT on the underway on the ocean. So our capabilities for this, we are able to do any cardiac scans, neurology scans. We are able to do 3D reconstructions with our CT machines. And then if anything they need head CT, we're able to do it underway and also in port for this one. We do have 4 diagnostic rooms. 2 of them are fluoro, which is the live x-rays that you see all the time. And then we have 5 portable machines that we are able to take on the ICU, the intensive care unit, the wards, the post-anesthesia care unit, and also the CASREC that you just saw over there. And then we are also capable of doing interventional radiology, so that anything that deals with your vessels, your veins, we are able to do it on board over here. And then we are also able to include 5 C-arms, which we take on the OR rooms in case they need any x-rays during the surgery itself. Take a look around.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm HM2 Law. I am the blood bank LPO on the Comfort here. So the Comfort performs basic type and screen and antibody identification in the blood bank. We're capable of holding about 3,000 units of blood, and we keep them all frozen. And the way we get them to liquid is a process called deglycerization. So we take those units, wash them a few times, and they're good to go to transfuse to patients. And our whole mission is to support our surgical services on board, which is where you guys will be going next.
So do you have a lot of blood here right now?
Right now we have 450 units. It depends on the patient. Patients can take up to 50 units if they're that traumatized, but some patients just need 1 or 2 to get their hemoglobin up.
All right. Enough to last the whole mission?
Yes, for humanitarian, yep. Huh? Oh yeah, you can come in if you want. All right, this is where we would perform all of our testing for our patients. And this is the window where we would receive any requests from anybody. And here we store all of our blood. You wanna come over here? So this is our liquid blood. And then back here is all of our frozen. So this is where we would deglyss, turn frozen into liquid blood. And then back here, these freezers are kept at -80. And this is where we store all of our blood for the mission.
Good afternoon. I'm Rear Admiral Rich Lofgren. I'm the Vice Commander for U.S. Naval Forces Southern Command and 4th Fleet down in Mayport. So on behalf of Admiral Sardiello and 4th Fleet, we're thrilled that you're here. We're thrilled for the opportunity to showcase this incredible ship and have the opportunity for us to tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing for the next almost 70 days as we think about working with our partners down in Latin America and South America, and then transiting through the Panama Canal 2 different times. So we're really excited about being able to talk about the capabilities, how we're going to work with our partners and friends, down south in the neighborhood, and have the opportunity for these two gentlemen to tell you a little bit about what each of their teams are doing. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Commodore Ryan Kendall, who's the Commodore for Destroyer Squadron 40.
Good afternoon. My name is Captain Ryan Kendall. I'm the Commodore for Desron 40, Commander Task Force 45, Commander Task Force 49. I'm extremely happy to be here. We are heading out on this fantastic mission, Continuing Promise 2025. This is the 16th Continuing Promise, the 8th Continuing Promise on the USNS Comfort, and we are heading downrange to Central South America, visiting our partners and allies, bringing some impactful aid and delivering just some great health care, along with some other things. We have 3 lines of effort during this mission. So first line of effort is medical care. Our second line of effort is humanitarian assistance, disaster response. And our third line of effort is public engagements, key leader engagements. This goes with our U.S. Navy band. We are CBs that are going to be building some projects down there to help some schools and build some meaningful projects in the communities that don't get the care and attention that they otherwise would get without the comfort arriving down there. And we've got about 1,000 people that are motivated. They're excited to be a part of this mission. Many of them, this is their first deployment, and this is the first time that they're going to be in Central and South America, and they're looking forward to delivering this world-class health care and some other items and things to help our partners down south.
Good afternoon. I'm Captain Stephen Arliss, Commanding Officer of the USNS Comfort Medical Treatment Facility. Comfort is one of 2 U.S. military hospital ships. We are the largest in the world. We provide afloat, mobile, acute, medical, and surgical facilities in any area of responsibility as directed. At full operating status, we can maintain 11 operating rooms, 1 interventional radiology suite, 80 intensive care unit beds, 400 acute care beds, and 500 low acuity beds, 4 dental operatories, 2 oral surgery surgical suites, as well as a broad array of clinical support services, including laboratory, radiology, pharmacy, and physical therapy. As Captain Kendall mentioned, this is the 8th deployment of the Comfort for Continuing Promises missions since 2007. Our current mission set includes a 100-bed capacity with 2 operating rooms capable of producing 12 to 18 surgical cases per day. We have expeditionary ashore medical and dental clinics that will be providing care in country to the tune of about 300 to 500 patients per day. As a team, we'll work in cooperation with the host nations, state partnership programs, and non-federal entities to deliver world-class, partner-led medical care, to expand and refine regional capabilities supporting humanitarian crises, disaster relief, and regional conflict. CP25 has been more than a year in the planning. My team and I are very excited about getting on mission, getting downrange, and providing life-altering medical care and training. Thank you.
In terms of the surgeries you were talking about, is there a certain type of medical care that this trip will specialize in, or is it just all sorts of different things?
As part of the pre-planning process, we identified lists of surgical cases that would be most appropriate. So we are doing general surgery cases, pediatric surgery, plastic surgery, and eye surgeries.
And this is obviously a humanitarian mission. If we were to ever go to a war where you needed to be treating like soldiers, is this ship also for that?
Absolutely. Yeah, our major combat operation is our primary mission, and that's when we're to expand to full operating status and add additional surgical and medical specialties.
So I thought about this for a long time and wanted to ask a 10-year veteran of the Navy SEALs, Joel Lambert,
has gone up against some of the best human trackers in the world who were pursuing him while he hosted a Discovery Channel show called Manhunt. He is considered the world authority on escape and evasion. Joel, thank you so much for being on. I wanted to get your take on all of this, and this is right up your alley.
Yeah, it really is. Thanks for having me on, Ashley. And what you were saying, I've been listening to the whole show, and I mean, the situation, this guy's prepared for it. He has the skills. More importantly, or maybe more importantly, or as importantly as the skills that he has the experience and the mindset. He's been through this before. That area that he's in is rich with, it's target-rich environment. There's tons of water. There's tons of food, farmland, backyard gardens. Obviously, these houses that he can break into and find canned food, dry food, things like that. It's really, this guy, I think, could survive as long as he wants to in this environment. It's a matter of time, though, because so many people are on this manhunt. And like you pointed out earlier, there's so many factors involved. Ring doorbell cameras, trail cams, people checking on their houses, realizing this is going on and asking neighbors to drive by. There's just too much attention on the area. The guy's only chance, in my opinion, is to break the police line, get on the other side and get out of the area of search. And hopefully these guys are too professional and they've got it locked down.
Yeah, really. Let's hope that. Okay, when we talked last at length, we were on the hunt for Brian Laundrie because he was somewhere out there. Turned out he was dead, but they were tracking Brian Laundrie. And you said something so interesting. I wanted to bring it back to our audience tonight. You told us about the rule of threes when you're on a manhunt. What is it and what does it mean?
Well, the rule of threes is an old survival adage. And what it says is you can survive, or we can survive as humans. We can survive 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. And the whole point of having that is that prioritizes your energy expenditures in a survival situation or an escape evasion situation like this that has a large survival component to it. So when you are making your choices as to what you're going to spend your time and your energy on, you first take into account shelter. And shelter is anything that protects your physical body, your flesh. So shelter can be a fire, it can be a house, it can be a shed, it can be a tent, it can be the clothing that you're wearing, anything that protects your body from the elements. So depending on what the situation is, where he's at, shelter would be the first thing that you check off and say, okay, I need to deal with this. I need to make a fire. I need to find shelter, or I'm going to be okay. It's temperate. The weather is forecast to be nice. It's not going to be freezing tonight. Move on to the next thing. What do I have to deal with? Water. Water is the next thing. And these are things, and there are other aspects to that. Those are 3 aspects of survival: shelter, food, and water. But also there's navigation, signaling, things like that. And so these are all things that you factor into an order of importance to survive before you accomplish whatever goals you have.
Well, and then we just put them up on the screen, so I'm just going to let our audience know what it was. It was the 4 Fs of stress and adrenaline, and that is the fight, flight, freeze, or focus. And we don't know which one of those he's in. I have to cut it there, but will you stay sort of tuned into us? Because I feel like at some point this is just going to blow wide open. They're going to catch him. And then there's a whole other series of questions I have for you, and that is, what happens to him then? How does he get thrown into the back of the van? How is he treated? There's just a million things I want to be a fly on the wall. Joel Lambert, I just love talking to you. Thank you for this.
Thanks for having me on again, Ashley. Always a pleasure.
Recent FAA reports confirm that US Air Force pilots have reported numerous encounters with strange flying objects, sometimes in swarms, in their Arizona training ranges. One even struck the canopy of an F-16 Viper jet, damaging the multi-million-dollar craft.
So there was a concern among pilots, safety concerns, that there might be a collision with these objects they were seeing.
There could be. Famed former Pentagon UAP investigator Lou Elizondo, who testified to Congress on these matters, agrees.
They're seeing something anomalous, aren't they?
Well, what I can tell you is that there's been a lot of activity, a lot of people reporting a lot of things.
out of Arizona, particularly along the border.
Could all these incidents have prosaic explanations? Well, sure. So before wasting our time and yours chasing UFOs, we went to chat with an expert on the ground.
Ali, at long last, lovely to meet you.
It's great to meet you, Rob.
Legend. NewsNation's border reporter, Ali Bradley, has her own intel regarding flying objects on the border, drones used by cartels to smuggle drugs or conduct reconnaissance.
Now we're seeing drones more and more used to be kind of scouting tools, to watch Border Patrol, to be the eyes in the sky, if you will, so that they can send individuals over.
For the past decade, cartels have been using consumer-grade drones like this one, recovered with over 6 pounds of methamphetamine. But now they're upgrading the fleet.
The cartel used to use Chinese drones. Very normal, that's what you can buy at the store. But they switched over to using French and Russian agricultural drones.
So bigger drones.
They can move 5 to 10 kilos of drugs across the border. And the biggest issue there is the technology that they're using, we're not able to intercept like we were with the Chinese drones.
So what do you think, Ali? Do you think that what's happening here with the cartels could explain the anomalous activity that they're seeing in the military training ranges?
You know, the cartel wants intel on the United States. That's their MO. That is their #1 priority, is to always be one step ahead of us. So what better place to do that than to infiltrate our military installations in some capacity?
Unless you were in a coma in late 2024, you know that the mystery drone threat is more than mere speculation. For weeks, New Jersey residents were reporting strange aircraft in the area. When officials began to investigate, things only got more concerning.
They don't know where the drones are coming from, they don't know who's doing it, they don't know why they're doing it, but they say there's no credible threat.
The mystery behind these purported drones remains. The military admits it often cannot detect, track, or down these objects. Defence also recently admitted to one senator it's mystified as to their origin. NewsNation's Rich McHugh has his own memorable experience while out reporting the story.
I think we've seen about 40 or 50 of these drones. In fact, there's one over my shoulder right there. One after another, these drones appeared in the night sky. If you look real close, they look like fixed-wing aircraft, about 8 to 10 feet wide, colorful, white blinking lights.
That is not a plane.
Definitely not an airplane, but what was it?
Are the Arizona sightings similar sophisticated drones? That's what the Defense Department's ARROW, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, claims. But is that explanation plausible?
It is fact that UAP often, but not always, resolve into readily explainable sources.
But are these Arizona videos and all those reports to the FAA so easily explainable?
There's obviously something going on in Arizona along the border areas, more than just illegal immigration.
In fact, Bob and Andy are so certain they've submitted the videos to one of the country's top scientific groups for analysis.
We've analyzed those cases using physics and all the tools of science.
Southern border and what could be a stunning escalation in America's war on the drug cartels. The New York Times revealing tonight that President Trump has quietly signed a directive green-lighting U.S. military force outside of the United States. The target? Powerful cartels operating deep inside Latin America. NewsNation's Jorge Ventura at the southern border in Hidalgo, Texas, live tonight, where the influence of the cartels is felt daily. Jorge, what are you tracking on this?
Natasha, this is a fascinating update. Earlier this year, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, when he was asked if the military could strike cartels, he says all options are on the table, and we are now getting closer to that. President Trump giving the green light to the U.S. military to strike drug cartels on foreign soil. NewsNation did get the opportunity to directly ask the president about this directive to the Pentagon. Take a listen.
You were talking about sending military forces to fight against the drug cartels in Latin America. Do you think it's worth sending our forces, our U.S. forces there to take this on?
Cartels where?
Central Latin America.
Well, Latin America's got a lot of cartels. They've got a lot of drugs flowing. So, we want to protect our country. We have to protect our country. We haven't been doing it for 4 years. And we love this country like they love their countries. We have to protect our country. So, you know, we're playing a tough game, but we'll have more to say about that soon.
NewsNation pressing President Trump on reports that he secretly signed a directive ordering the Pentagon to use military force against drug cartels labeled as foreign terrorist organizations. Groups like the Sinaloa cartel, Venezuela's Cartel de los Soles, Tren de Aragua, and MS-13. It's the most aggressive move yet in his war on the cartels, opening the door to operations at sea and even on their home turf. The Times says that military planners are already mapping out targets. This after Trump's earlier designations of several cartels as terrorist groups and a $50 million bounty on Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, accused of running a cartel from his presidential palace. In May, the United States and Mexican forces raided 3 major drug labs in Sinaloa, seizing fentanyl and chemical precursors, a rare strike on the cartel's own turf. But there's a wall that Mexico won't let Trump climb. President Claudia Sheinbaum doubled down yesterday, telling reporters that she will never allow U.S. troops to enter Mexico, calling it a violation of sovereignty, though she says she's open to sharing intel and coordinating across the border. What's interesting here also, Natasha, just about an hour ago, I did get off the phone with a contact of mine who was a former Mexican Special Services member. What he says is that the United States could conduct a covert military strike, meaning that the United States could strike cartels and not notify Mexican authorities. Kind of like what we saw last year when the United States was able to capture El Mayo, the co-founder of the Sinaloa cartel. That was a covert mission that the United States authorities did not warn Mexican authorities. And that's what my contact says. We could see something similar like that in this next year or so, Natasha.
Yeah, I appreciate you speaking with that contact. Jorge Ventura at the border. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.